for joining us on this segment of Envision. We're with Superintendent Dr. Brian Maher, who is, after several months now, getting a feel for the Sioux Falls School District. And one of the things that we continue to work on is our safety and security in terms of our buildings, our staff, and our students feeling safe. And we did have, unfortunately, that incident down in Harrisburg, very close to home, helping us really put an emphasis again on those practices that we need to have in place for the safety of our students. Those practices are happening with lockdown drills and a variety of other information sharing mechanisms, but also in the structure of our buildings. And we just recently finished up with some security measures. You want to talk about that?
Sure. Well, one of the things we just finished from a facilities standpoint was every one of our facilities now has a vestibule, if you will, to walk into, where you have to actually be admitted into the building. And it certainly doesn't solve every potential dilemma out there, but it helps us. It gives us another barrier. So we're looking at things, and really as we talk about that from a facilities standpoint, we've really addressed the issue of safety and security on a very strategic way. I'll start with saying this. I found a great comfort in my new position when I found out we have, I'll call him our Director of Safety and Security. I don't think that's his actual title. In Robert Bray. Bob Bray is tremendous. He's a retired two-star general, and he is vigilant in making sure that we have processes and practices in place. It gives me a great deal of comfort to know we have somebody as our point person in that regard. Mm-hmm. So that's part of it. And so I bring that up because there are a whole list of things from a safety and security standpoint that roll out of his office. Mm-hmm. One of those things are the buildings. Just making sure that the brick and mortar, the structure itself is as safe and secure as it can be. From there, I'll go into a meeting that I had earlier this week as part of the Emergency Operations Center, I think is the name of it, the EOC. And here in our central office, we met with folks from the Sioux Falls Police Department, Sioux Falls Fire Department, Minnehaha County, Lincoln County, Sheriff's offices, Emergency Management, Red Cross. I'm missing probably dozens of entities that are in this room, and we're talking about an integrated approach to safety and security. And I'm so tickled that they have our school system as part of that whole conversation. I think if, as a citizen, if you are able to look at that meeting, listen to that meeting, to be in conversations that I've had with Robert Bray, and then to see the practices that we go through, I think you'd feel really pretty darn comfortable about what we are prepared to do in the event of an emergency in our buildings. You referenced Harrisburg. One of the things I find interesting about the timing of the event at Harrisburg and our policies and practices. At the very time Harrisburg was going into a lockdown, and by the way, I should say, everything I've heard about the way Harrisburg handled the situation has been top drawer. Absolutely. I think they're a model for how you would hope to be able to handle an incident like that. But at the very time that was happening at Harrisburg High School, at Annie Sullivan Elementary School in the Sioux Falls School District, Dr. Kirk Zeke and his staff were undergoing a lockdown and evacuation procedure. The very thing that was happening real time in Harrisburg, we were doing here, unbeknownst to the students and staff at Annie Sullivan. We were having a practice for what it was they were undergoing. So we have many practices, all the way from fire drills and tornado drills to an intruder in the building drill. And so we really prepare for, we hope, everything, when in truth we can't be prepared for everything. But we're prepared for everything we can think of.
certainly a different age than when I went to school or you went to school. That really
How
was
old do you think I am?
Just maybe a year older than I am.
Or so.
But we didn't have those things to think about, or they just weren't as apparent as they are today. And it certainly has put a new role in place for the schools and the staff to know about emergency management and how to respond in a situation like that.
You bring up a great point, and maybe I'll try to evolve just a little bit here. The only thing I can remember, now it's been a long time ago, the only thing I can remember from my high school days or my school days is fire drill and evacuating for a fire. I don't even remember that we did tornado drills. Maybe we did, but I don't remember that. We certainly didn't do lockdown drills or evacuation drills. And I'll even go to Columbine. I was a high school principal in Waverly, Nebraska when Columbine took place. And I just remember the panic that set in. First of all, the horror and the sorrow, the heartache as a principal, seeing that happen, not all that far away from here. But then oh my gosh, what would we do if that happened here? And because it just didn't happen. And then unfortunately, things like that have happened with greater frequency. Every time it happened early on, from Columbine through the next several incidents, I think we all panicked and reviewed our procedures and changed things. And unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, we don't have that knee-jerk reaction to those issues today because we're far better prepared today than we were not so long ago. We're not prepared for every eventuality. I wish we were, but we're not prepared for every eventuality. But we're prepared for many and for most. And many times when you hear a Harrisburg incident or an Oregon Community College incident, you think about, are we prepared to handle that situation? You don't have to reinvent your plans. So now it's more of are we prepared for that? And so while safety has evolved, so has the planning for those sorts of events. That's really evolved over time.
Right. Well, I think the students, the community, their parents, it can feel safe that it's great to have a 2-star general right next door.
No kidding.
So certainly, we do place a lot of emphasis on the safety and security of students, and when you send your child to school, we want a safe learning environment for them, and we've done many things to put those practices in place. So, thanks for joining us on Envision.